welcome to Culture Couch Live, everyone. Carly, Murph,
Rosie.
We've got the whole crew on today.
Good to see you. Good to see you back, Em.
Yeah,
I'm back and alive for my holidays and got a bit of a tan because it's summertime over here. So things are good over here. I'm doing okay.
In Toronto, you're talking about?
In Toronto, yeah.
Speaking about okay, the reason we got Em on today, because it's Are You OK Day. Actually, we only just found out. So it is in Australia, but Em, it is in Canada where you are as well. So it must be
tomorrow.
a global day, the Are You OK Day. So we thought we'd check in with everyone to make sure in a really, let's be honest, it's a really, really difficult time. But probably the conversation we want to have is what we've had with a lot of our clients over the last sort of 2 to 4 weeks, isn't it? So we want to probably try and focus on some practical tips around health, well-being, and even explore some of the conversations that we've had. Murph, you and I jumped on one yesterday and had some really good conversations with some people that quite frankly are pretty tired of what's going on at the moment.
Yeah, they felt the group were exhausted, to be honest. They're working hard. They're locked down, and so it was a really good reminder, I think, for some of the practical tips that you particularly gave. And I think Are You OK Day is probably fallen at a really opportune time. And I think Warren in our pre conversation made a great point that Are You OK Day shouldn't just be one day, it should be every day. And I think we just need to keep reminding, particularly at the moment, just keep checking in. Are you okay?
And I think let's pick up on that and let's try and give more general tips around, because clearly we're in the middle of a pandemic, let's be perfectly frank, but I guess on the back of that, Murph, we want it to be sustainable. So Carly, gratitude plays a big part in what we do as a company prior to every meeting. And I think potentially doing that takes away the focus of some negative self-talk. And Murph, you and I spoke about that yesterday, so I'll bring you in on that in a minute. But take us through the gratitude piece, Carly, in relation to Are You OK Day?
Yeah, so part of our process is really to get, when the team do get together or when groups do get together, to really start with the check-in. And the first question in our check-in is generally for each person to tell us something that they're grateful for. And I think the reason we do it, and it's always relevant, is to just reframe the conversation and to get people in a positive frame of mind. And at the moment, that's really important because we want to talk about how hard things are and how much we're struggling in lockdown and how much we can't wait to get out of it. But just by reframing that question and saying to everyone, what are you grateful for? And as Jez always says, you can't be angry and grateful at the same time. So it just really reframes that conversation. And what we've noticed in all the check-ins that we've done recently is that people are now really grateful for the simple things in life.
Yeah.
And grateful for the sunshine, and they're grateful for getting out and having a walk, and they're grateful for the people around them. And it's just really nice to remember those things at this time, and to really rely on those small things at the moment.
And I know, Em, you're really big on the structure of meetings, and it is really, really important, isn't it? Because we can sort of get bogged down with things that then weigh us down more heavily. So how important is that?
Yeah, I literally yesterday I ran a check-in for a client over here, and they had tried a weekly sort of meeting to sort of start their week, and they just had no structure around it, and it dissipated. It just fell away, and then so I ran a review for them a week or two ago, leading up to this new structure, and everyone said, "Can we get some structure back?" So you can take a chance on it and just have the meeting and then just fly by the seat of your pants, or you can be purposeful, have a moment of gratitude. I'm a really big fan, and I like that in relation to the Are You OK? If it's a start of a week huddle as a team, maybe news from the weekend, what are your top 3 outcomes for the week? But then what are your needs? Who might be able to help you from the team? So calling out, Ruzi, I'll need you Thursday for maybe half an hour to work out, an idea that I'm working through or whatever it might be. And then also roadblocks. I've got my, one guy he's a best man in his brother's wedding. So he called out that he's going to be very busy on Friday. So one of the other team members said, "Oh, I'll conduct the open house for you." So simply your 3 outcomes, your roadblocks, and your needs from the team is a wonderful way. And then you don't take a chance on it, and that's the key part, I think.
What was it? I mean, with MediFarm Lab, I mean, you've got a lot of tools as a CEO. What are some of the real practical tips that you've seen work that really relates to the day?
I think that you guys did the Culture Cash Live last week, and you had the 3 types of leaders: the hero, I think it's the tactician or the technocrat, and the sharer. For me personally, I think you guys are aware, and I'd share it a lot online. I don't care to. I think obviously the big thing about being a leader or someone in the position where people see someone like myself as a high performer and being quite successful, I'm very open and transparent about my own personal mental health battles, specifically when it comes to anxiety. And ultimately, for me personally, I'm very encouraging of the team. First off, I'm very vocal about the previous experience that I've had. Very focused on saying that ultimately, with any type of scenario, the definition of not being sane is continuing to do the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome, which was me for 10 years, and through medication at it for 8 of them without changing anything, and then ultimately introduce, I think, the most important word, structure. And structure comes in the form of meditation. So I think with our Performance Centre application, we have an introductory course into mindfulness and meditation by Tammy, and she was the one who really drove my transformation to even considering meditation as a thing that I should commit to. Exercise. So making sure you get out there and actually do something. And it doesn't mean you have to go out there and sprint 10Ks and do it in the shortest amount of time ever. It's just, if you've got 5 minutes, you got 5 minutes. You got 10 minutes, you got 10 minutes. Whatever that time it is, you commit to it. And just ultimately checking in and communicating and sharing the information with people. And by opening up and sharing yourself, by being vulnerable, people are naturally comfortable then and reciprocating in that area. So those things we do quite commonly. I think I've taken my team specifically on that journey, and now the team openly and continually bring, "I'm not going so well today," and then everyone sort of checks in with that person as to identify whether they can help them, and that's something that's a constant within MediFarm Labs. Yeah.
Murph, probably a couple of things that have come up for us a few times in the last couple of weeks. Are we too hard on ourselves? Are we too hard on each other? Are we not giving ourselves enough pats on the back? And I know we're all striving to be great, the good to great scenario, but in these times, are we striving for too much? And should we be saying, "No, well done, thanks for what you're doing"? Is there enough positivity around internally in the workplace, do you think?
I think it varies really between workplaces, but I think you're right. I think sometimes we can always look to get better, and as a result of looking to get better, we forget to see what's going on. And we talk about the 4-to-1 all the time. I think a couple of interesting points came out of yesterday in terms of the workplace. One of them was because people are caught in at home a fair bit. There's no real gap between work and life, and so they can actually just slowly intersperse with each other. And I think you pointed out really well. Make sure you've got a really clear routine, and Was just said that, really clear routine for your day, and then change it up on the weekend. So that your weekend just doesn't become another workplace. Another really interesting thing was, if you've got good relationships with people in your team already, it's not as difficult to maintain them as people that have joined a company and actually haven't met people yet. And so they're trying to get to know people over Zoom calls or whatever. So I think reaching out and setting up get to know you sessions for people who have just joined the company in the last 18 months is probably really important. It's something has only come to light over the last few sessions. And I think if we can make sure that we don't default to sort of conversations about pandemics, COVIDs, etc. If we can start our meetings with gratitudes and look after each other that way, I think it's really helpful, because we talk about self-talk all the time in sport, don't we? And so self and team talk. And so self-talk is how you talk about yourself. Team talk is how others talk about it. And then that drives your behavior. And so feelings drive thoughts, which drive behavior. So if you end up getting caught in negative conversations about where we are at the moment, and don't pull yourself out and start to focus on what is working and how you can help others, it can become quite debilitating. And it's really important that if you see your friends or your colleagues getting caught in that cycle, you just stop, check in, ask how they're going, and then say, hey, perhaps, slowly find ways to support them, or redirect the conversation to stop that negative self-talk, because it can have a really significant impact on behavior and performance.
But I think that point, Murph, about being kind to yourself, like, it is really hard at the moment. So you do have to be kind to yourself. And so, yes, you should be sitting at your desk pumping things out for as long as you can to get it all done. But if you can do it by going for a walk with a colleague, or getting outside while you're on the phone, or listening to a podcast, those kind of things where you're being kind to yourself, I think are even more important at the moment.
Well, I told this story in the session yesterday, Carly, and Ruzi was there. Is it weird? There's 4 of us in the house. 4 of us, not 5, 4, in the house at the moment, and we had a really bad day. I don't know whether it was all of us, had a bad day at the same time last Tuesday. And by the time we'd finished work and school and got to the end of the day, like, we were just like arguing and fighting, and we all said, hang on, stop, what's going on here? And then we went and got the most expensive takeaway we could find, on the basis we all needed to do something, like, just to break it up and celebrate. And it worked, because everyone was like really excited about the meal. Like, it sounds ridiculous, but it got us back into a positive mindset. So finding little things and acknowledging it. I think you made a great point, Carly, about asking people, are you okay, is easy, but the next question is the most important question. Because if Ruzi says to me, are you okay, mate? If I go, yeah, no worries, Ruzi, I'm going all right. Yeah. But if he says, yeah, I've noticed though this has been happening, then that next question actually says, yeah, you're right, mate. I've actually really been struggling. So I think the second question after "Are you okay?" is actually the most important question.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think because everyone says yes, I'm fine. That's your automatic reaction.
It's the default, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the rest of the conversation.
Australian. I think that's dependent on relationships, isn't it? Like that's the essence 100%. Of what we do, isn't it? That's the connection piece. And the reason we do, the Our Story, is because we want people to connect. So to get to that second question isn't it? It's about that connection, isn't it? Because if I don't really know someone's normal speech patterns, their body language, how they carry themselves, it's very hard for me to then follow up with the next question. And I think relationships is a key to that second question, isn't it?
100%.
Yeah, and the thing for, like, in your scenario, Jez, in your example, you've got your family around you to help, check in and connect. But there's also that big group, and all of us do on this call, actually, as a matter of fact. But there's a lot of people who don't have the associated people around them. I've got a girlfriend who's going through divorce, and she's home with her kids, and that negative self-talk is just so hard to get out of that cycle of just and you have to correct someone. And even you sort of say, you go in and try and give the advice that that person, or the storytelling, or that portion of the story that they've developed in their own head is actually not accurate, and they're doing a good job, and things are going well, and looking at the glass half full. You've got to look out for those people as well. That's the big group that gets missed, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I think another interesting thing that sporting teams do really well, Ruzi, is set up really good buddy systems.
Yeah.
And what I think in the corporate world, I actually thought about this a lot last night. In the corporate world, we tend to set up buddy systems within our divisions, But in the sporting world, we don't do that. So the backline people don't necessarily, they're not the buddies necessarily of all of other backline people, are they? It's across. And so the people in the direct line of in your division may not necessarily be the best people to support you either. So looking at who is the best person to support Was and who is the best person to support Emil. It may not be the obvious. They may have a really close friend in another department that actually might be a better person to support them. So I think just looking at different ways and that we can have connection across the organisation is so important.
And just the workplace is really understanding how important that connection is, and it's not always about the output and getting stuff done. Like taking time to look after each other and build that connection is so important, and really needs to be prioritised in the workplace.
Yeah, great tips. I just want to finish off. Let's focus on, for everyone today, Are You OK Day. Let's focus on the next 24, 48, 72 hours. Just a real practical tip, Emil, and I'll go around the square. So really, if we can really focus on that period of time and we can really give a nice practical tip, either today, for tomorrow, or even for the weekend, and what would you recommend?
It's the phone thing, actually. Phone and blue light to end the day and start the day. There's some hideous, use that word, lightly, some really bad research for the way our brain reacts to blue light. So blue light at night wrecks your circadian rhythm and makes you believe that it's daytime again. So at least half an hour before bed, no phone looking at. I say an hour.
Yep.
And then in the morning, get to sunlight and sunrise if you can, and that light first, and no phone until 30 to 45 minutes. I think a good start, if you do it a lot, is maybe 15 and 15 and build it up. But just going to your phone. So the secret to that is to keep your phone on aeroplane, leave it 5 to 6 meters away from where you wake up. So then you pick it up in the morning, but you're not going directly to, because it releases cortisol, puts you immediately into stress. And at night, clicks into gear that it might be, your brain thinks it's daylight. And that's horrendous for our health.
Yeah. Was I'll go to you.
I think just finding the routine. I think some people say I can't do it because I don't have time to, but just find one thing first. Identify one thing and attempt to apply a routine to it. And I think that the big thing that people still don't commit to is just to add that mental mindfulness piece. It does 3 minutes, 2 minutes, whatever you've got. That's the first starting point.
Perfect. Merv?
Exercise is the first one. So just be absolutely religious on exercise, getting out for a walk, 3 times a day for 20 minutes, whatever it is. Just make sure you do that. The link between positive mental health and exercise is, it's unarguable. And the last thing that for me would be identify 2 or 3 words that you want to be described as over the next.
Right.
It might be positive, caring, and grateful.
Yeah, right. Yep.
And that will drive your self-talk. So am I being positive? Am I being caring? Am I being grateful? So, and then that will drive me then to remind myself not to get caught in those negative conversations, and to ring a friend or two to be helpful and caring and grateful and positive. So that self-talk cycle, I think, is really important, identifying 2 or 3 words.
Excellent. Thanks. And Carly?
Yeah, mine is a similar vein. So even though you don't want to make contact with people, think about who you can call, because they need you, because they'll also help you when you call them. So whether it be a family member or a colleague. And then my tips from Tammy last week, Ruzi, is, be kind to yourself, still have your coffee and your glass of wine, but make sure you have your water and get your steps up as well, so that you're trying to look after yourself in the small ways that you can. And Ruzi, what's yours? Tell us.
I'm going to talk, and this is something I spoke about yesterday, Murph, wasn't it? Make sure the weekend is the weekend. I think we've now blended Monday. We've got 7 Mondays. I think my recommendation is, whatever your pre-COVID weekend was, try and make it as normal as you watch the footy. What do you got? Friday night footy. You've got Saturday night. Get out down to do your exercise, wash the car, or whatever it might be. So make sure your weekend becomes really different to those 5 days, and it's something that you really look forward to. That'd be my tip. So
Good one.
look,
That's a good
hopefully that gives us some practical tools. And look, are you okay? And I think mainly the last message is probably go another step further. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Ask a follow-up question. That's what we'd really encourage.
Yeah.
Ask a follow-up question and really be inquisitive and thoughtful.
Sure.
And let's be really kind to each other today, and not just make it today, as what it says. Are you okay day, to be perfectly frank, should be every single day. So thanks, Carly. Thanks, Merv. Thanks, Woz.
Love it.
And Em.
Well done, guys.
Thanks, Reece. That's been
Right.
good.
See you all.
I'm going to go and ring
Yep.
5 people. I think that's a good reminder. That's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
good thing. I'm
No,
going to do
good
that. Yeah.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Good job.
Live. Thanks,
Bye,
everyone.
team.
Thanks, guys. Cheers for now.